And breaking news, 7 p.m. Eastern, also 7 p.m. in New Jersey, where the drone mystery continues. We have some unique reporting on the situation. The FBI and the local police are now, you could say, in disagreement, vehement disagreement, over exactly what you are seeing on your screen right now. Both President Trump and the man currently in the White House have weighed in. We're going to do some real journalism on exactly what the flashing lights in the sky are. With that, we welcome you to the Ferris Network on television. And first tonight, how to fight against Donald Trump and why Democrats now, more than a month after his election, cannot figure it out. President-elect Donald Trump's 2024 transition is vastly different from 2016. We have showed you that over and over and over again. There is no Russia, Russia, Russia. There are no casting calls at Trump Tower consuming the media with the prospective nominees coming to speak. In fact, the press is kept quite far away from Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump does not have to defend losing the popular vote as he did in 2016. And for the first time, Donald Trump is popular. At least he is not unpopular. Trump's favorability rating on the Real Clear Politics average is now above water. That has never happened before or since today. And it's important. 49.4% of the country views him favorably. 47.4% hold an unfavorable view. And for the first time, Donald Trump is sort of acting like a traditional president-elect. This is a kind of traditional transition. It is worth noting it is the closest he has ever come to a favorable possibility rating since April 24th, 2022. The spread back then was 3.5%. So what is really going on here? Democrats face not only an identity crisis in determining what they are for, something they have to figure out, but more importantly, they can't figure out how to fight against Donald Trump. That's all they've done for the past 8 years. It came to a crescendo. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz had a plan. It did not work.
For many people who care about this issue, they also care about bringing down the price of groceries. They also care about our democracy and not having a president of the United States who admires dictators and is a fascist.
Don't give them the power. Look, are they a threat to democracy? Yes.
Simply put, calling Trump Hitler didn't work. End of story. Now Democrats must fight on policy and issues. But Trump's promises are more popular than he is. Take, for example, mass deportations. Recent polling from CBS finds 57% of Americans. That's not of Republicans, that's not of independents, that's of all Americans. 57% of the country support Trump's plan. Only 43% oppose. For Democrats who hate Trump, they must fight back against policies that a majority of America support. Or they have to work with the guy they called Hitler. For that, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy.
If it's contrary to our values, we will fight to the death. If there's an opportunity for common ground, we will seize that as fast as anybody.
And therein lies the problem for Democrats. Their values didn't sell. Boys and girls bathrooms, open borders, and soft on crime. It's not America. Calling 50% of America racist didn't work either, nor did calling Donald Trump Hitler. So now they have to redraw the playbook, which is what's going on right now. We begin with Jonathan Cott, former senior advisor to Senator Joe Manchin, Shaniqua McClendon, vice president of strategy at Crooked Media. That is the Pod Save America cabal, maybe Pod Save America empire. How about that?
Okay.
Empire is good?
Progressive media empire.
Progressive media empire. Okay, I like that. Well, then we'll start with you. Is there a, crisis of how to fight back against Donald Trump?
I don't think so. I mean, one thing I will say is people are tired. Democrats are tired. You're right. We have been fighting Donald Trump for 8 years. And I think we're going to take the next 2 months to rest. But Donald Trump's going to show his true colors as he always does. And then we'll have the opportunity to just let voters, people who voted for him, people who didn't vote or voted against him, see what happens when he's in office. And so I don't think...
So why aren't we hearing the Hitler stuff anymore? Why aren't we hearing the threat to democracy stuff anymore?
Because in this moment...
And even Gretchen Whitmer's saying she's going to work with him.
I think what Governor Murphy just said is right. When there's opportunities, we do need to work with him because Democrats are often the responsible ones. They're not going to be like Republicans who just for the sake of fighting are going to fight, even if it's at the expense of Americans. But we're going to point out all the things that he does that are bad, and those are coming. Those threats to democracy.
So wait for the policies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kat, where is this going, and how angry are Democrats now at the media that for so long kind of was part of this threat to democracy stuff, and now seems to be giving, Trump a pass in Democrats' mind?
I don't think they're mad at the media. I think right now there's a lot of reshuffling and reorganizing and figuring out what went wrong, what we have to do better. There's also a lame duck Congress. People are leaving, retiring, staff is turning over. Once he's in there and the nominees are actually having hearings and the focus is on them in a way that it's not now, there is some coverage of Pete Hegseth and Robert Kennedy Jr., but there's not the hearing and everyday coverage of it. I think the focus will turn back on that, and you'll see the Democratic message and focus be on that again. I don't think they're mad at the media. I think some of it is from the campaign where they sort of gave a fair and balanced take on Donald Trump.
God forbid the media be fair.
Well, you have to also say, if Donald Trump comes out and says, I support this, and you don't say, well, in the past, you didn't support this, and we just let him have a pass on it.
Kristen Welker did that.
But he flipped his position on a lot of things, and we just gave him a pass and didn't say anything. He was the one who overturned Roe versus Wade, and then he said, oh, no, I'm completely fine with it.
I love nothing more than when Democrats complain about the media. It gives me great joy. A recent CBS News poll found a majority of Americans aren't motivated to oppose Trump's efforts as president. 10% motivated to support him, 47% identifying as will not be motivated to do anything either way. Is that, Shaniqua, because there's some of Trump's policies, even with Democrats, like closing the border and deportations, that are really popular?
I think it's because we have not started experiencing his second presidency yet.
So this is a honeymoon for Donald Trump?
Yeah, it is. And right now he's acting like a sane person, but he doesn't actually have power yet. And the minute he does, he's going to succumb to his worst instincts. And he has really bad people around him this time. He doesn't have people who are going to rein him in. He has people who are going to egg him on to do some of the worst things.
How does Democrats, being against Donald Trump was not enough for Democrats in 2024? We can all agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you figure out what you are for? Because what you were for in 2024 didn't work out either.
One thing I think we have to remember is a lot of voters did not remember his first presidency. So they're going to be reminded of it when he's back in office. But, you think... So
that's the argument for the midterms?
No, that's not the only argument for the midterms. Donald Trump's going to lay out his policies. He's talked about tariffs a lot. I think it is very easy for Democrats to say, we are not for raising the prices of your food and goods that you need. That's pretty straightforward, and I don't think it's a hard message to take on.
God, in terms of the values and the policy issue, you've got Democratic mayors who are now saying, I'm going to stand in the street and stop ICE deportations, almost like George Wallace-esque. You're going to have to come through me. Same with the governor of Illinois. If you want to deport people, you're going to have to come through me. That is wildly unpopular, especially when it's people who have criminal records. How do Democrats who want to get elected, especially those in purple states, especially senators, Democrats got a bad map again, how do you deal with the craziest among you?
Look, I've been dealing with that for a long time. I think the crazies need to learn that we didn't win on their positions, and sometimes those don't work. But there has to be a middle ground where you can say, look, if you're here illegally and you've been committing violent crimes, it's okay that we deport you. And the mayor should work with them to do that. But if you are here illegally and you are working in a good way and you are trying to be a productive member of society, we shouldn't be okay with mass deportation.
That's Donald Trump saying, right? Like, I'm willing to work on dreamers. He said that in an interview. I guess, Shaniqua, that would be the question, right? Are you seeing enough want or realization by Democrats that on issues like deporting people who have committed felonies, that you're going to have to oppose members of your own party?
I don't see a lot of Democrats saying people who have committed felonies should be able to stay in this country. I see
the mayor of Denver and the governor of Illinois
said that they don't want mass deportations. There's not one Democrat who's saying if someone who is here, an undocumented immigrant who's here and is committing heinous crimes, I want them to stay here. I think something that Democrats didn't do a good job of during this election is pointing out the kinds of people that they do want to stay here, the kinds of people that build our communities and make them better. They attacked too far to the right to try to be like Republicans when it came to immigration, and didn't make those distinctions that a lot of people, a lot of people are frustrated with immigration, but a lot of Americans actually do want people who are contributing to our society to stay here.
Right, I hear you there. Look, it's hard to compete against the Trump show, right? You got Trump going to Army Navy, you've got Time Man of the Year. What, Jonathan, or who becomes the person to carry that mantle? The presidential primary for Democrats has already started, right? What voice needs to come out to carry that?
This is the problem when you're the party out of power, is there is nobody. There is nobody that can compete with the president on that level. There's nobody that can do it. It does not matter how popular and how well known you are. The president's bully pulpit is stronger than every one of those people combined up there. So there's nothing you can do. And Donald Trump is a great showman. That is something he has proven time after time again. So the Democrats will struggle for the next 2 or 3 years until there's a nominee who will go up against him while he's still in office, and then whoever is the Republican nominee. But no, he will have 2 years of being the sole voice at the top.
Can I say what won't help? Keeping people like AOC from positions of power where she can have a microphone and be vocal. I think no one's...
So I just want to be clear what you're saying. You're saying keeping her away from power, people like AOC.
Mm-hmm. That's and the spotlight.
And the rest of the squad.
It's not about their stances being, further left and more progressive. It's more so you have a talented political talent who really gets people's attention. And not allowing those people to at least take up some of the spotlight in a moment where Donald Trump's going to have most of it, I think that's a mistake.
So I guess that's the question, right? Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the nose.
Yep.
There was this big plan of how to deal with Donald Trump, which is call him Hitler, oppose everything. Are Democrats now got punched in the nose in the election and now don't have a plan? Is that a fair assessment? Figuring the plan out?
Yeah, I think we have to refigure what the plan is and how we attack him and how we push back. But also, I think to your point earlier, Democrats will be responsible and will work with him when they can, which is what they should do, right? Like my old boss used to say, you want your president to succeed, because if the president succeeds, your country succeeds, your state succeeds. But you have to oppose him when he's just wrong. And I think those mayors and governors should say, come help me with my immigration problem, but don't send thousands of ICE agents in and just round up every...
Right. The problem for Democrats, though, right, is that the second you say that, you get primaried.
Yes.
And you just said, I think you said it right, the key to this is keeping AOC away, is from power and people like her.
Oh, I didn't say keep her away from power.
No, she wants her in power.
I think that regardless, I look at someone like Greg Landsman. It doesn't matter about their politics. I think people who can command attention should be able to command attention on our side.
Oh, okay.
Now,
so the issue is getting what? Is that new blood? Is that...
Yes. Okay. I think we need a new generation of leaders who are willing to fight. And we don't have that right now.
And it's not just that. It's
hold on. Willing to fight. Hold on. And I'll give you guys the last word. But when you say willing to fight, are we to believe that the past year and a half Democrats weren't fighting against Donald Trump?
I think you had a lot of messaging that was Trump is bad, Trump is bad. But when we have power, we don't use it the way Republicans do. To really, I don't know a nice way to say, tear down the bad actors. There's always something nice we can find in the people who are doing bad. And even right now, what is happening with Donald Trump, there are some Democrats, I do think the media is doing this as well, who are just trying to kind of, just only point to what is it, Doge, this not real entity that Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are
not governmental, but real. Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Even legitimizing that, those kinds of things. We don't need people who are going to play into the game. Look, work with Donald Trump when it makes sense, but when it makes sense to really go after him or really go after Mitch McConnell, do that. Look at the judges right now. Why are we not pushing all of them through? We don't need to play nice when we have an opportunity to be really aggressive.
All right, you got the first word. You get the last 30 seconds.
Look, I think I agree with her. We have to fight when we can, but look, Democrats need to take a lesson from Republicans and get stuff done when we can. and just fight in a better way. But we need to have people out there who understand messaging the way Donald Trump seems to, and putting people like AOC out there sometimes is helpful because she gets it. She gets
and now you got to do it. And look, now you have to do it with the moderate voice.
Right.
Thinking Joe Manchin, not there anymore.
Right.
All right. Thank you both very much.
The balance you have to have.
Balance?
Yep.
All right. Army-Navy tomorrow. It is always special. This year will be like unlike. Be liked unlike. I think I wrote that. That's that one's on me, guys. All right, this will be unlike anything in 125 years of sports' greatest rivalry. How Army-Navy just earned another immortal place in history.
It's the game of games, Army versus Navy, the irresistible force and the immovable body of football.
Now it's Hall climaxing the 66-yard drive with Army touchdown number 1.
Those were the days. Tomorrow is the 125th meeting of sports' greatest rivalry. As college football fans, we say that advisingly, but it is true. Because nothing matches the tradition, the pageantry, the romance of Army-Navy. The only game every year where every player on the field is willing to die for everybody watching the game. You'll hear that over and over because it's true. With us now, Congressman Ryan Zinke of Montana, a former Navy SEAL, Congressman James Moylan of Guam, U.S. Army veteran. Gentlemen, I'm in the middle here. Keep it civil. Thank you very much. All right, gloves hands down.
Well, I'll say it first. Go Navy, beat Army.
Okay.
Go Army, beat Navy.
Is there like bets in the House over this with members who are from each service, each academy?
There absolutely are.
There's some side bets going?
Yeah, it's more than tradition. It is about, to your point, it's really the last bowl game, head-to-head, that doesn't have the NIL, doesn't have the portal transfers. Everyone on that field has committed, the oath of the United States to defend the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic.
Yeah, they're not going to the pro. They're not playing for the pros. They're playing for honor, and then 4 years, at least a 4-year commitment. It's interesting. I don't believe either of you went to the academies, right?
I did not.
Neither of you did. Is it different if you haven't been to the academies versus if you have, in terms of who you're rooting, sort of the level of dedication to this game?
Well, I think certainly if you go to the academy, you're much closer to it. You're probably emotionally bonded to it a little more. But those of us that did not go but served, it's a great game because I think it represents America's best as far as values go about what makes America great. And defending our country, it's a lot of fun. Of course, President Trump believes that's the case, too, and he's going to be at the game.
I was there when he went in 2016. It's kind of wild, right?
It sure is. It sure is. And it's going to be wild once again. But, these guys out here, these soldiers, these Navy folks, they're really strong, and they're going to give it their all. I'm so proud of them, and it's wonderful. And this is the game I want to watch.
All right, Army-Navy stats. Army 11-1 so far this year. Navy 8-3, and Army is 6.5 point favorites.
Right.
Well, yeah, Vegas says that maybe the Army has an edge, but the Navy, don't ever discount the Navy. We can land in force. But, both teams have played well over the season. I think the Navy probably lost 2 games that they were close and probably shouldn't have. Army, could have been defeated, but a couple things. But, one thing about football, that ball is not round. It bounces funny ways. And it's going to be a great game.
Sometimes it's fully inflated. Sometimes it's slightly deflated. I would encourage everybody to go to warnotes.com. That is our newsletter. And in it, we have a link to one of the most profound 5 minutes of television I think exists, which is the 2017 Open from CBS News to the Army-Navy game. Take a look.
It's not going to be an easy journey.
You have your academics, you have your military duty, and you have football.
Yes, it is just a game, but a game that epitomizes everything they're here for.
It's the only game that everyone's playing in it. They're willing to die for everyone who's watching it.
Have you seen a difference? I'm almost thinking over the past 15 years, difference in sort of America's interest in this game?
I'm sure it gets stronger and stronger, at least for me and these folks. And I recall when I went through basic training and went through the ROTC program as well, but really the spirit is there, and the more you're with the military, and for me being the Army, it's super strong. And these guys know with our threats that we have in Indo-PACOM and what their duties are going to be when they get out there and fight, they're going to fight on this field. And they're going to be gentlemen about it as well.
There is something about this. I don't think there's going to be any flag spearing in the middle of the field like at Michigan and Ohio State. I do think it's always funny, though, is each of you have to get in, hey, this is great, we're all brothers in arms, but, and then either insert Army or Navy.
That's correct.
Okay.
You know, we love the Army, but
right, there we go.
Go Navy, beat Army. Yeah. It all comes down to that.
Yeah. All right, I've got two members of Congress here. One very close to China, obviously, in Guam.
That's right.
Former Navy SEAL here. Real quick, do we really think these quote-unquote drones are some nefarious thing from China or Iran?
This is what disturbs me. All right. If the government doesn't know, they should say. If the government doesn't know, then it's another problem. And look, if they don't know what it is, they need to shoot it down. And if they can't shoot it down, that's the second problem.
Okay, hold on. But to be fair, the FBI has put out a statement saying we have figured out most of these are commercial airlines, and we have absolutely not detected any drones that we view as something we don't know what they are.
I think.
You trust the FBI on this?
Well, yeah, you're asking a Republican? You know, that's a different story. But I can tell you, we're going to see a difference, right? The House got Republican, the Senate got Republican, we got Donald Trump up there. I think we're going to see some leadership things, just like what you're going to see on the football field tomorrow. Good leadership, good teamwork, and we're going to take care of those things.
You should have just stopped. You can ask a Republican on the FBI. That's pretty good. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Okay, so the FBI is now in a fight with the local police departments in New Jersey over the drones. FBI says there's nothing to see. Well, who are you going to trust, the FBI or your lying eyes? That when we come back. President Trump has an answer for all the drone sightings. Let's just shoot them down. He's not alone. Some senators are saying the same thing, which would be a great idea if these were drones flown by the Chinese to spy on us. There's a lot going on here with all the videos, and we don't know. That's the point, right? We don't know. We don't know how many of these sightings are drones. We don't know if they're drones. A lot of people say what you see are flashing lights. Former Governor Larry Hogan posted mysterious flashing lights in the sky on his Twitter account. In a shocking turn of events, the lights line up exactly with arrivals at Baltimore-Washington International Airport. Maybe they're stars. Maybe they're drones. One congressman from New Jersey suggested they were launched from an Iranian mothership off the coast.
And from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones.
Did he provide evidence? No. The Warren County Police said, we are shocked by the lack of response or update from federal and state officials. We do not agree with their response that there is no known threats to the public at this time. It's our stance that just the unidentified drone flying over us is a threat itself. So that's the police. Then you have the FBI, who said yesterday, we have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or public safety threat or have a foreign nexus. Now, to be clear, they went on also to say that many of the drone sightings they have now identified as commercial airliners. Our job is to ask questions. That's what we'll do tonight. There are flashing lights in the sky. Some experts say there are drones. I'm not one to believe the White House, any White House. That's a job as journalists. But here's the White House.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat or have a foreign nexus. Upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully.
And it would appear from the video that at least some of the things in the sky are manned aircraft, and they're telling the truth about some of the sightings. So let me show you. This is some video. This is one of the drone videos. Wingtip lights. You can see red lights and green lights are navigation lights from planes. White lights on a plane, those are landing lights. And in some of the videos, you can see pretty clearly that it's a plane with two engines. And planes at a distance look like they're hovering in the sky because they move so slowly. Stand outside anywhere in the Northeast near major airports, even 100 miles away, and you will see a long line of blinking lights. They call them the conga line of arrivals or departures. Zoom in and they get blurry. In fact, many of the videos, you can see the distinctive markings of tails, like the logos on the backs of planes. So let me put it another way here. Imagine yourself around sunset in the plains of Kansas. You hear thundering hoofsteps. You're in Kansas, not the Serengeti. There are thundering hoofsteps, and the thundering hoofsteps are most likely horses, not zebras. They could be zebras. Right now, there's a lot of thundering hoofsteps. There's a lot of flashing lights in the sky. Drone warfare expert James Rogers is with us. Congressman Ryan Zinke back with us, member of the U.S. Joint Commission of Congress, former Navy SEAL commander on SEAL Team 6. Gentlemen, both of you, glad to have you. James, start with you real quick. Do we have any evidence, and I'll continue sort of the analogy, horses would be planes, zebras are drones that are sort of launched from somewhere and pose some threat. Do we have any evidence, hard evidence, that these are actually drones?
Well, they might well be drones, but the FAA have at least 800,000 legitimate registered drones in the United States, and drones are used on a regular basis in industry, in agriculture, for filming by hobbyists. They're increasingly filling our skies on a daily basis and will do more so into the future, with thousands of drones delivering goods, taking us to and from different bars, from work. Drones are becoming an economy in themselves, and we're sleepwalking into a new drone world. So there are many legitimate drones in the sky as well.
No, I hear you, but I guess I'm still trying to figure this out, Congressman. I don't know, we have seen a lot of lights in the sky. Have you seen any evidence that says these are definitively drones and that they are definitively drones that we need to be worried about?
No, but here's the problem. We don't know. And if they know, this is the government, they should say something. And if they didn't know, then it's a problem they don't know. And then the question about shooting it down, if you don't know, then okay, you can shoot it down. But they don't have the capability right now, seemingly so, to shoot it down. There's a series of problems with it.
But we're starting back at this idea. You say if they don't know, they should find out. And if they do know, they should tell us. This is from the FBI yesterday. Historically, we've experienced cases of mistaken identity. We are supporting local law enforcement in New Jersey with numerous detection methods, but have not corroborated any of the reported visual sightings with electronic detection. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft operating lawfully. There are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. So they're telling you, you're saying, I guess, you don't believe them.
Well, what I'm saying is they should know. And if
Isn't that saying they know?
Well, what they're saying, with Admiral Kirby, for instance, he says there's no evidence of being a threat, but there's no evidence that there isn't a threat. Matter of fact, we don't have any information on it. My point is this, is that they don't know, find out. That means put a temporary flight restriction around it, bring the instrumentation, and definitively be able to say, this is a plane, this is a drone, you're in my airspace. That's what we should be doing. And I can tell you, our adversaries are watching this. They're watching whether or not we take action, just like the balloon that transited all the way across the U.S. We've got to look at it and they're going to say, look, fix this problem, identify what it is, and take action.
All right. So, James, as you look at this in terms of the technology to figure out whether this is or is not a threat, or is it or not drones, we are supporting local law enforcement in New Jersey. Numerous detection methods have not corroborated any of the reported visual sightings with electronic detection. I'll go back to my original question. Is there anything, and is there any hard evidence other than seeing lights in the sky that say these are drones, these are not planes?
Look, I share your very obvious skepticism. The White House and the DoD have made it very clear in their statement that they don't believe that these pose a threat to the public
them
or national security.
Based on what you've seen?
Based on what I've seen, I just don't think there's enough evidence to show that these are any particular threat. And I'm very worried about the idea of shooting down anything that we don't know.
Yeah, somebody shoots a medical helicopter or a traffic helicopter or anything.
Yeah, it wouldn't be ideal, that's for sure. And also, when it comes down to it, if it is a drone and you believe it to be a hostile drone, you still might be a little worried about shooting it down. You don't know what payload it has on board. And of course, if you're over a very populous public area, then you don't want drones crashing, into an indeterminate location.
All right, sounds good. Saturday, gentlemen, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We'll keep watching. We have a huge special on Saturday, Drones Over New Jersey, to discuss this. We'll tell you exactly what we know and what's next for startled New Jersey residents tomorrow 9 Eastern on NewsNation. In America, everybody wants to be a victim. They want an emotional, safe space to heal. Proof coming up that only losers want to be victims.
My kids are healthy. My wife's hot. I got a pretty good life. We get to play college basketball. We get to play in the Yum Center. We get to get ready for Utah.
To be a victim. They rejected the safe space of emotional bliss and said the obvious. Doing hard things is what makes us great. Here's the Louisville basketball coach, Pat Kelsey, when questioned about, and I am not kidding you, a basketball coach was asked about the emotional toll of preparing for a big game.
How challenging is it emotionally or mentally to get a team ready when you had Duke on Sunday, this big marquee event, you got Kentucky on Saturday, another marquee kind of game, and UTEP plopped right here in the middle? How difficult is that just from an emotional standpoint?
I mean, we get a bunch of free sneakers. I wear sweatsuits to work. My kids are healthy. My wife's hot. I got a pretty good life.
Forget for a second the stupidity of the question. That's the reason he and his teammates are winners. Former defensive lineman for the New England Patriots, roommate of Tom Brady, David Nugent, is here. David, it's good to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Why does it seem like sports is the only place that you can say these kinds of things now?
I don't think it should be. I think it's applicable in every area of life, professionally, athletically, spiritually. If you're pursuing greatness, you gotta be obsessed with the process just as much as the game. And I love that clip so much because not only does he have a healthy perspective on what's truly important in life, but he clearly embraces every opportunity, big or small, big game, small game, as being a part of the process and always having an opportunity to improve.
Yeah, I think there's so much there about not just sports, but about life, about being grateful. The flip side, and I think it sort of plays into this, right, is what Tom Brady said about why to play football, why to do hard things. Your former teammate, take a listen.
I would encourage everyone to play football for the simple reason that it is hard. It's hard when you're young to wake up in the off season at 6 a.m. to go train and work out, knowing that all your friends are sleeping in and eating pancakes.
Works in life too, right?
Yeah, when I see that clip, I think about the guy who won the Super Bowl in 2002, and we all come back to the hotel and have a party for the team late into the night. The rest of the team gets up. We fly to Boston. We all get to sleep in. Tom Brady didn't sleep in the next morning. He had a round of interviews. He had to hop on a flight and fly to Disney World to be celebrated as the MVP, riding around on a float all day. I'm in our condo, and I get a call from Tom Brady. Hey, man, be ready. Tomorrow morning, you and I are going to the stadium and working out. And I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought this guy's going to be exhausted. But sure enough, I wait up till 10, 11 o'clock. He's still not home. I'm tired. I go to bed. The next morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, I kid you not, I get a knock on my bedroom door. Tom Brady's fully dressed in workout gear. And he said, "Are you ready? Let's go." And we're driving to Gillette Stadium in pitch black. There's no lights at the stadium. We're the only two people there. And as we're working out, I'm looking at him thinking, this is what pursuit of greatness looks like. He just won the greatest game in his career 2 days prior, and he's already back in the gym preparing for the next one.
Yeah, that is what greatness looks like. It is an important data point. It works in sports. It works in life. It's nice to have people who are willing to say it. Somehow in sports, people are more willing to. I feel compelled, based on your background and your attire, to say Merry Christmas. So thank you, and thanks for taking some time away from the family tonight to chat with us. It's good to see you.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, we first wrote about this in War Notes. That's our daily's newsletter. Free to subscribe at warnotes.com, and you can reply with your thoughts. We read them on air. Be sure to follow us on social media as well, at Leland Vittert on Instagram, and also that thing that was called Twitter, now called X. Joe Biden has commuted the sentence of a jailed judge in the infamous Kids for Cash scandal, just one of 1,500 commutations. We'll check in on exactly who he commuted the sentence for and whether they deserved it. Today, Democrats trashed Joe Biden's controversial pardon of a man who ruined lives. Undoubtedly a guilty man who ruined a lot of lives. And no, we are not talking about pardoning Hunter Biden. That was a few weeks ago. Yesterday, Biden commuted the sentence of 1,500 criminals, the largest commutation ever by a president. It's like a Friday night document dump, taking out the trash. The numbers are so great, there's so much information. They don't want you to see who was among the people they pardoned. Michael Conahan was one of them, the judge in the infamous Kids for Cash case in Pennsylvania. He took $2 million in kickbacks to send kids to for-profit prisons. As we said, Democrats are angry, including Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro.
But I do feel strongly that President Biden got it absolutely wrong and created a lot of pain here in northeastern Pennsylvania. This was not only a black eye on the community, the Kids for Cash scandal, but it also affected families in really deep and profound and sad ways. Some children took their lives because of this.
The judge ruined countless lives, like that of Sandy Fonzo. Her son was convicted of a minor drug charge. Nothing should have happened to him. The judge sent him away, and the young man later committed suicide.
You need to be. Do you remember me? Do you remember me? Do you remember my son? An all-star wrestler? He's gone.
Another victim spoke with our affiliate WBRE and took Joe Biden to task.
There's never going to be any closure for us, Andy. There's never going to be, somehow, some way, these two men are always going to pop up. But now when you think about a president of the United States, letting him get away with this, who even wants to live in this country at this point? I'm totally sickened. I just can't even believe this.
Wow. Biden also granted clemency for Rita Crundwell. She embezzled $54 million from Dixon, Illinois. She served as comptroller of the city there. She was sentenced in 2013 to over 19 years. Released in 2021 to serve the remainder of her term from home because of the pandemic, and now has been granted clemency. With us now, evening news anchor, chief investigative reporter of our affiliate WGN Television, Ben Bradley, who's reported on Rita Crundwell for years from Chicago. Ben, great to see you. As always, you think about getting a pardon, a commutation. Either your dad's president, that's one way. You show an enormous amount of remorse, regret, and understanding for the people you hurt and what you did was wrong. Or you were somehow wrongly convicted. Did any one of those three apply to dear Rita?
No, 0 for 3. And what's so strange about the Rita Crundwell clemency is she didn't have any juice. There was nobody from any party who were saying, hey, this lady deserves a break. She lived high and fat on the backs of Dixon taxpayers for 20 years. She showed horses, RVs, luxury homes, jewels, furs, all of it, she said, from her horse business. She was well known in the horse business. And then she said, oh, I worked as the Dixon comptroller to give back to my community. Now that's where she stole $54 million from.
There's an argument at times, right, that sometimes commutations come when there was no real victim. I'm almost thinking about the Rod Blagojevich case, when the sentence didn't match the crime. Were there real victims here? Who got hurt in all of this? And what's their reaction?
Well, first, I got to quarrel with you. Rod Blagojevich, there were very real victims. This wasn't just about selling a Senate seat. He shook down the CEO of a children's hospital who wanted more state money to treat sick kids, and Blagojevich wouldn't do it until that CEO donated to his campaign. So that case is more complex. In Dixon, Illinois, yeah, taxpayers, roads didn't get fixed. The local swimming pool didn't get used for summers because it was too broken down. $54 million is a lot of money. That's Dixon, Illinois, by the way, the childhood home of Ronald Reagan. So this was totally, a crime that everybody in that town was opposed to. And she got 19 and a half years, almost the maximum from the judge. She only served 8 years. Yeah, she got out because of COVID, home monitoring, like a lot of other people. But, you can argue that clemency was for these folks who were already out of prison because of COVID, had demonstrated they didn't commit new crimes. And, what's to gain by all of a sudden a few years later saying go back to prison? That's one thing. It's another thing to say, I'm wiping away the rest of your sentence, especially for a woman who did this crime that damaged a community so much.
And seemed so arrogant, indignant, I guess maybe a different word. I know that you, as an investigative reporter, talked to her brother. Take a listen.
Sorry to bother you. I'm from WGN.
Sorry about your bad luck.
Why do I have bad luck?
Because you're a me.
Well, that's not very nice.
What are you doing here? What are you bothering me for? Get your camera off my face,
Is Rita staying with you? Or?
Rita who? Who would you like?
Your sister who wrote in a letter to the judge that she was going to stay with you if she was released.
Do me a favor and kiss my
Seems like lovely people.
That was like the first time you and I met, Leland. That brother is where we believe Rita Crunwell's staying. So, Leland, she returned to the scene of the crime. Now she was on home confinement, but now, thanks to Biden's clemency, she's not. Imagine when she runs into folks at the grocery store in Dixon, Illinois, folks that she stole from, because now her sentence is gone.
Well, if you happen to run into her and track her down, as investigative reporters do, come back and talk to us, Ben. Merry Christmas to you and yours.
You too, Leland.
All right. Thank you, my friend. All right. One more big week until Christmas vacation begins. Hope you spend the weekend with people you love, not talking about politics. Enjoy some good cheer of Christmas cookies and hot chocolate. I'll see you on Monday. Here's Chris.